The movie starts with the news of worsening storm in the New York City due to an asteroid hitting the Earth. An old lady is seen calling an exterminator because of the voices she has been hearing in her apartment. Her name is Helga, and she is the patient of dementia. Outside the building, a man named Frank sees the exterminator company of the Bug Brothers and calls Helga to open the door. He gets angry that it is his job, and why has she called someone from outside? She tells him about the voices she has been hearing, and Frank goes in the room to check where he sees blood and the wounded exterminator, and then suddenly, he is pulled towards the air vents. Helga, who is standing outside the room, is suddenly distracted by the ad in the TV, and due to her dementia, she forgets all about this. But a couple of minutes later, she again hears the voices and calls an exterminator. The movie then shifts 4 days back, where an asteroid lands into a dollhouse in the apartment by breaking the window. A tiny spider comes out of that asteroid. A girl named Charlotte is seen coming through the air vent in that room. She goes near the dollhouse and starts taking pictures of the dolls and captioning them as her next target. She sees a small spider walking on her hand, and suddenly she hears footsteps of someone approaching and quickly hides the spider in matchstick box and takes him with her. She goes to her room through the air vents. That apartment from where she escaped belonged to an old lady named Gunter. When she sees the break in her window, she quickly goes to Charlotte's stepdad Ethan that lives upstairs and complains him about Charlotte again breaking into her apartment. Ethan asks Charlotte about this, but she quickly denies it, saying that she has been in her room since morning, and as soon as Ethan leaves from her room, she puts that spider in a glass jar and names him Sting. Charlotte's dad left her and her mother Heather for his girlfriend and went to live with her in Thailand. Heather then fell in love with Ethan and married him. Both of them have a beautiful son, Liam, and Ethan also lawfully adopted Charlotte. Ethan always considered Charlotte as his own daughter, but Charlotte was the one who hesitated so much to even call him dad and used to address him by his name. Ethan is a comic writer, and as a part-time job, he fixes small issues like plumbing and garbage disposal in this building, as he is the building representative. Heather runs her small business, and Charlotte, who also started sketching as Ethan does the same. She always considered him as her hero. Both of them have also written a comic book together which she loves the most. Charlotte gives Sting the bug to eat, which he immediately does and grows in size. She then begins to search about Sting species but finds none. She whistles a tone to train him about food that Sting mimics instantly, which amazes Charlotte to another level. She again feeds him, and he again grows in size, almost twice his previous size in every couple of hours. On the other hand, the woman Helga that was seen in the start of the movie is Heather's mother and Charlotte's grandmother. Gunter also lives with Helga and is Heather's aunt. Helga don't even remember that Heather is her own daughter and always considers her an outsider. She even made sweater for Charlotte as a thank you gift, but Charlotte doesn't like it due to the mothballs smell coming from the sweater. Mistakenly, when she tries to feed Sting, a mothball falls down which scares Sting and immediately causing Sting to scurry away. In fact, the mothball even burned the Sting's web. Sting, that has grown big with each feed, now opens the jar cap at night and goes to Helga's apartment through the air vents and eats her parrot. Next day, when Gunter sees the condition of the parrot, she starts to scream, and hearing her screams, Ethan immediately goes to Helga's apartment. He also got scared seeing the parrot and calls an exterminator Frank, the guy from the start of the movie. Frank tells them that this was done by something small that went easily inside the cage. He also sees some gooey material sticking to air vents and sprays the gas inside it. He then sprays all the houses of building, and when he tries to spray in Charlotte's room, she declines it, saying that Sting won't like it, and shows him her pet Sting. Frank warns her that spiders are not meant to be the pet. They only know how to kill and eat. At night, Charlotte observes that Sting has gotten bigger in size again. She then watches the documentary about few spider species that secrete a neuro and myotoxic venom that paralyzes their prey, and when they eat their prey, he is very much alive. At night, Sting again escapes from the jar and goes to the apartment that is downstairs of a Spanish woman named Maria. She is a divorcee and lives alone in her house. She was passed out on the couch when her dog Bonnie hears some voices coming from the air vents and starts to bark. Maria wakes up and goes into kitchen to get her antidepressants medicines and starts to get emotional while seeing her family picture. It is then when Sting attacks her and secretes his venom inside her. That makes her paralyzed and goes inside her mouth and starts to eat her from inside. Next day, Ethan hears some voices coming from the air vent, and when he ENS it, he finds Bonnie there. He goes to Maria's apartment to return Bonnie when he sees her dead body and gets scared seeing her condition. He immediately calls the police officer. Cops claim that it might be a suicide as she is already in depression. Ethan doesn't say anything, but deep down he was scared seeing condition of her body, and he knew that it was anything but suicide. Charlotte, when came to know all this, takes Sting to a guy named Eric in their building that lives 2 floors down. Eric is a zoologist and is currently experimenting on fishes to make pancreatic beta cells in their body for insulin production, in the remembrance of his mother who was diabetic. Charlotte shows him the way Sting feeds and increase in size size, and also the whistle mimicry, on which Eric tells her that spiders don't have vocal cords, and also no spider increases in size with every feed, and tells her to leave Sting with him for a couple of days, so that he can study on him. As soon as Charlotte leaves his apartment, he calls Ethan and tells him about the sting. Ethan then decides to send the sting to health department, on which Eric says that he will do, as he also works there. After returning back to his apartment, Ethan gets angry on Charlotte for hiding a spider, as he can cause harm to Liam, and tells her that he has sent the spider away. Charlotte gets angry on hearing this, and starts to shout on him that who is he to decide on Sting's behalf. He doesn't care about her, he only loves Liam, and she misses her dad, if she can somehow go to Thailand as she wants to stay with her real dad, on which Ethan replies that her father has returned from Thailand 6 months back, and hasn't even tried to contact Heather or her. He doesn't even care about you. Charlotte breaks down on hearing this, and goes to her room crying. Heather argues with Ethan that he shouldn't have told Charlotte about her dad, and goes to Charlotte's room. On the other hand, Eric, who lied to Ethan about sending Sting to health department, has started to feed Sting the animals every hour or two, causing Sting to immensely grow in size, because he has finally found a perfect host for pancreatic beta cells growth. With every inch increase in Sting size, the pancreatic beta cells will duplicate. At night, Sting breaks the glass cage and goes into air vents, where Gunter was trying to find her cat. When she hears the voices coming from air vents, she opens it, and Sting takes her away from there. Scenes then shift back to Ethan's apartment, where everyone is playing around. But Ethan is devastated due to Job's pressure, and also because of Heather and Charlotte's ignorance. And while trying to fix TV, he breaks it in anger, causing Heather to send Charlotte, Liam, and Bonnie to Charlotte's room and asks Ethan about this. Charlotte, who doesn't want to hear her parents quarreling, wears headphone and starts watching a drama. Heather, while arguing with Ethan, sees Sting on the roof and screams, but Sting immediately attacks both Ethan and Heather and paralyzes them with his venom. Charlotte, who can't hear anything due to headphone, comes outside to give feed to Bonnie and doesn't see Sting taking away her parents. But due to constant Bonnie's bark, she goes outside to complain to Heather when she sees the stuff broken in living room and air duct open. She gets scared, and when seeing Sting coming to get her, she places the shelf in front of it and starts to scream. Sting tries his best to push the shelf but fails, and then goes through the Charlotte's room's vents and takes Liam with him. Charlotte, when sees Liam missing, gets angry on Sting and plans to take revenge. She remembers the way Sting got afraid of mothballs and wears her grandma's sweater. She then goes to Helga's apartment and asks her about any weird things she saw. Helga tells her that she just saw a black big dog, and when she tried to pet him, he got scared of her, which shocks Charlotte, and she immediately smells her grandma's clothes that have strong smell of mothballs. She tells Helga to not take her clothes off and to call police. Charlotte then takes mothballs from Helga's kitchen and blends it. She fills this in a toy gun and carries extra bottles with her and says goodbye to Helga. She then starts to find Ethan, who is kept in some air vent with Gunter wrapped in Sting's web. Ethan, when tried to take the webs off him, got his hands burned. He then sees Sting approaching them and taking Gunter to eat. Charlotte, on the other hand, goes to Eric's apartment and sees all the bloodshed of animals and understands that Eric had fed him. She then finds Eric glued to the roof, covered in web, which scares her to the core. She then shouts Ethan's name, and hearing his muffled scream coming from the air vents, she immediately opens it and finds Ethan there. She tells him that she will burn the web with moth water, but he has to hold on to some hooks as he will fall down, which Ethan agrees. She frees Ethan, but when they both see Sting approaching them, they both fall down the air vents directly into the garbage can. Charlotte gets trapped there, and when Sting tries to attack her, Ethan immediately sprays the mothball water on him, causing him to go from there. Story then shifts to the scenes from the start of the movie where Helga calls an exterminato, and Frank coming to her apartment to argue about Bug Brothers and being taken by Sting. Frank is also dropped into the garbage can where he sees Ethan and Charlotte. He starts shouting at Charlotte that all this is because of her. Sting again comes there, and Ethan throws mothball water to scare him away. Frank then tries to snatch another bottle from Ethan, which he doesn't allow because it is the last bottle and he can't waste it. Suddenly the showers are opened and the water is sprinkled all over them. Frank takes out his electric gun to fight Sting, and Charlotte realizes that all the mothball water has been washed away from them and they are no longer safe. Frank tries to shoot Sting, but in return, he kills him. Seeing this, Charlotte and Ethan run to the waste incarcerator where they plan to kill Sting by compressing it. Ethan carries the remote with him, and both of them go inside the incarcerator where they see Liam and Heather webbed. Charlotte burns the web and frees them both. When Sting comes to eat them, Ethan presses the button, but due to plug being unplugged, unplugged, incarcerator doesn't work. He tries to plug it, and Charlotte prevents Sting entering by placing a metal piece in front of the entrance, but Sting breaks it. Charlotte immediately picks the remote and presses it, thus compressing Sting and killing it. Heather then takes Ethan out from there and gives him CPR to revive him. Thankfully, he wakes up and she hugs him. Charlotte also hugs him, and for the first time, she calls him Dad, which makes Ethan so much happy that he hugs her tightly, and Heather then also joins the hug. In the last scene of the movie, we see thousands of eggs of Sting being hatched and movie ends here. Thank you for watching.